Next Tuesday for the House to debate abortion. Today was the last day of the legislative session and representatives did not debate the abortion bill. Tara Jabor spoke to Lowcountry representatives about the issue today. And Tara, what if anything was decided?
Well, Tessa, today the House voted cloture on that abortion bill. That means for the 1,000 amendments that were filed against the bill yesterday, 3 minutes will be allowed for each one. So we did the math for you, and that would be 50 hours total spent on just talking about the amendments. Now, the House will debate the abortion bill next Tuesday, and the House Speaker says that they will go until they make a decision.
Representative Spencer Wetmore is ready to debate abortion on the House floor.
Really, my goal is to dispel this notion that abortions are somehow used as birth control or that people are having late-term abortions. The DHEC statistics from South Carolina show that only 0.5% of all abortions happen after 13 weeks.
Whitmore, along with 7 other women in the House, filed over 1,000 amendments. She says most have to do with fundamental changes to support mothers, children, and victims.
This is no place for politics. We need to allow women and doctors to make these decisions because they know what's best.
Representative Joe Bustos, a Republican, told me he doesn't think Senate Bill 474 is a good idea.
I think 6 weeks is probably not long enough. I think certainly the exceptions are something that we had before and we should have again.
He welcomes debate on the issue of abortion and ultimately believes that a good law will be made.
So now we have to find that compromise again. And I think we will. I think it'll be a hard-fought bill.
But Wetmore told me she's not sure about the future of abortion laws in the state.
If we send a bill back to the Supreme Court that is just the exact same one they just struck down, does that really demonstrate an interest in finding a resolution to this issue? I would argue it does not.
The COVID-19 public health emergency is officially over.
For the scientists and doctors on the front lines of the pandemic, this declaration actually has some pretty big impacts on research, funding, and even how they help patients.
It's now joined forces with influenza and all the other illnesses that drive people inside our hospital systems.
COVID-19 has transitioned from a pandemic to an endemic, but doctors at MUSC are still studying the virus, and initiatives like contact tracing they helped launch.
Our biggest single contribution is getting community access to testing, which was not really a thing before 2020. And we learned a lot about COVID by tracing employees with it. We learned about the symptoms are like, how the symptoms changed as we went from plain COVID to Delta and Alpha and now Omicron.
But federal funding for the studies is now gone.
COVID CARES Act dollars are no longer with us, right? So we don't have any of that funding for sequencing, for example. So we have no idea what kind of COVID is going through the community right now.
This means scientists are on their own to continue their research.
For those of us who want to study COVID, we'll have to scrape together money from grant funds and other sources because the federal government is not considering this a high enough priority to stay ready for the next pandemic.
The declaration from the White House also means staff has to make cuts when it comes to virtual health care.
We had a lot of flexibility to provide care virtually via telehealth because that was exactly the right thing to do during the pandemic because that's the best site of care or safe care for a patient either that has COVID or is at high risk for COVID. Many of those flexibilities are being scaled back.
Both doctors say the entire healthcare system is looking back and using the lessons and research to prepare for another health emergency.
So we just have to remain ready for the next time this happens and learn the lessons of the last 3 years.